Hello everyone, Mark Sargent again, and we will take a look at retopologizing. So we have a model here. It could be any kind of a 3D sculpted model or 3D scan, and we would just jump in and try how retopology is working in 3dsmax. Now, because I have this model, I will use this one and just quickly get an overview on how to transfer a model into 3dsmax. Now, before we are jumping in and sending the model over, I want to make sure that my environment is fine. So I have centimeters everywhere, and take a look at one way how to transport this. If you don't know much about the resolution, it could be better if you just lower the amount of polygons. So right now you have it's a 1,600,000 polygons. It's quite a lot. You don't really need that much. So before you're jumping in 3dsmax, it's advised to review the number of polygons that you have the input model. Now in this case we have a reduce mesh function in Modbox. So the model is selected. This is the head. Now it's selected. I can go up here in the mesh, reduce mesh, and right now it's 99%. We don't really need that. That's way too low. I want to keep as much detail as possible, but with a reasonable amount of polygons. So somewhere around 300,000 is fine. I will keep it at a closer fit. That means the size of the triangles can vary depending on the resolution. So if you have a higher resolution, for example around the eye, the polygons will be smaller. If you have a lower resolution, for example around the cheek, side of the face, that should be somewhat bigger. Okay, I don't have any frozen areas, so I just jump in and create reduced mesh. And so it was 1,600,000, and I have eyes. Those eyes are also sculpted, so I'm still waiting for the calculation. Right, here we go. So the head reduced is there. The original head was here. It's turned off. I'm pressing Ctrl D to deselect. And as you see, wireframe is turned on. This is what we have. Okay, of course the texture is just chopped up, so it's not really that it's not working anymore, but it is a really good start with resolution. Now eyes are super high because those are also sculpted, so I will just turn off this head reduced mesh, and probably I have some prepared. That's the heat reduced. This one. Okay, so I have an eye left. Okay, so here's eye left. I still have to reduce that. So go into mesh, reduce mesh, and 81. Oh, I can use way more. So somewhat that is fine. All right. So it's 55,000 now. The other eye was already reduced, so I have a mixed resolution here, but it's not it doesn't matter now. And original eye will turn off, and I have eye or reduced eye left reduced, nothing else. So okay, now the next part is a couple selections, because I will export this particular mesh as an OBJ file. Now I will show a different approach to export this, but for first I want to share this method with you, because if you're using this one, there is a benefit of you have a good OBJ file that could be compressed further, and it's easy to deal with that because all the other softwares are reading this one as well. You can also save FBX files. I'm not a fan of FBX files. Just kind of I like the plain OBJ files most for the work, so this is why I'm using that one. but the FBX and the direct connection also work. I will show the direct connection just in a moment. So export selection, and that will be the Retopo, and now I have a topo head, Centurio head OBJ, and I will use this one. Okay, so save it. Right, it says it's done, so I will switch back to 3dsmax, and the units were already done. Now how to import it: file, import, because I have a dedicated scene. From the desktop, Retopo, Centurio head, open it up, import everything, and voila, here we go. This is what we have. If you press number 7, it shows the statistics. So it says it's 3,700 polygons. It's way lower than 500,000. That's a good optimal way. It's easy to work on that if you have a smaller and slower computer. That's working as well. Alright, we are not done yet, because if we want to work with this one, we just have to check the size. There are many other ways to do this, but this one is absolutely the foolproof way to check if it works or not. And I like to use real life units. So if I have a head, usually I like to adjust the size of the head about 20-25 centimeters, depending on a model. So now take a look from the create panel. We can create a helper and tape measure the head. I'll just jump start here, drag it out, and it says it's 120 centimeters. That's huge, so it's definitely not good. So I will undo that and create a tape with the accurate size that I'm looking for. So I was zooming in, and probably a 22. That's just fine. Now this is a tape that shows a real scale of the face. So I will select everything, switch to scale mode, R, the hotkey for scaling. Because this was already done in a symmetrical way, I don't have to worry about too much about the centering of symmetry. So now if it's scaled, everything will go to the center. I will just move this away to check the size. Once it is a little bit smaller, it's hard to visualize the accurate measure. Okay, now it's done. Move to the cross. Okay, I don't need this one, but I have to do a thing here. So Z, zooming in, left view. Just let me check the left view. Okay, let me transfer this back to the 0. So we're here. That's fine. Okay. So perspective, all views. All right, it's nice. Now the problem is that this model is actually, it is scaled down, but the real life size of this model is a little bit different. So that means I have to make sure that there's no issue with this one. So to deal with that is there's a good option to reset. So the model is selected. Actually, I can select everything here, go to the utilize panel, and from the utilities there is an option called reset X form, and when you hit on it, it actually does nothing at first. It just opens up the options. So it's reset transform, and transformation like scaling and everything like that. So orientation, it's a good thing to do. And when you hit reset selected, it actually creates a modifier on top of everything. So now I have an editable mesh, and on top of that there's an X form modifier that's comes with reset. And usually editable mesh is not a good option for us because of the Retopo. So definitely we need to switch to editable poly. Now to do that, just simply select everything, right click, and convert everything to editable poly. Okay, this will make a real difference, because once you have this converted, the freeform mode in the ribbon will be available. Okay, I will just show how you can load this up or hide it away, because sometimes it can cause troubles. So if you don't see it, I will show it back in a moment. Now I'll put it on hold. So I have this file on hold, and take a look at Modbox. Turning off these guys. I will keep eyes, reduced eyes, but we'll go back with the head. And this is the original head, okay? So take a look. This is the high resolution head. Now, the trick I will do, I will just select the head by clicking on it. That activates the head. Sculpt, it says head. Okay, super nice. Page down to level down resolution, because I don't need that super high resolution for the retopology in this case, because it's retopology is the purpose of that is just simplify the model, so we don't want to add way too many details just from this point. And eyes are already the reduced version. Now we'll select these items from the object list. You can press Ctrl A, it selects everything, but it's sometimes it's just not the best option, so it's better if you are manually selecting the items. And now you can go here, File, and Send to 3dsmax. Now you can update, but we already have a model in that scene. So I will just jump in and send selected as new scene. If 3dsmax is not open, it will ask, or it will just jumpstart open it. So I'm moving it. Now here comes an interesting question. So if you want to go with the basics, go with the very low level that you have, you can go with the sand base mesh instead. I don't really suggest this. If you are working with Retopo, you don't want to go with the super low resolution. You need some kind of a mid-range or high-range, high resolution. So there is a specific resolution that I've just adjusted by hitting the lower level. So send mesh at current level. Alright, it will link the textures, diffuse, bump maps, etc. But we really don't care. I don't really care now, because Retopo will generate a whole other mesh for now, so it's not really a big deal. Exporting is running, and as you see, it says it is sending to 3dsmax. I don't want to save it. I put it on hold, so I will call it back. Alright. Right, so it's closing. Just a moment. Okay, so repeating the process. This one is the transferred model. So I would check this one is editable poly as it is. And if I'm maximizing the viewport, F4, function key 4, and as you see, these are the quad. This one is the quad model. So it is not the triangulated, not the reduced mesh. The reduced mesh will look like this one, because we kept the eyes. But this is the normal mesh. Now let me check the size. Tape measure. Okay, it's 80 centimeters, so it's still a different resolution. So if you want to go again to repeat this one, to repair, customize unit setup, check centimeters done, centimeters, that's okay, that's fine. Use the tape measure, drag it out at somewhere around 20 to 23. Okay, that's it, it's 23. Select all the head, switch to scale, scale it down, move it, scale accordingly. Alright, eyes were missing. Oh, that's fine. That's pretty close to the desired size. It can be a little bit smaller. Okay, left view, yeah, it's moving a little bit forward. So I will get this back to the original, a little bit closer to the center point, probably a little higher. Okay, over the grid, and voila, here we go. And F4, just to turn off wireframe, right click, oh no, utilize, utilities, reset X form, reset selected, right click, edit poly. So now everything is reset, and here we go. We have the available freeform modes. Okay, so once you have the model, then we will jump in to the Retopo. Okay, so this was the transformation, the transfer from Modbox to 3dsmax.